Howdy guys, Rex here. So I wanted to wait to post this video until the timing was exactly right, because every time I've checked lately, these things have not been in stock, and they're actually a pretty affordable item, and I didn't want to post it while they're like out of stock for months and months. So now they're in stock again, so I can show you what I'm talking about, and I got the links on the bottom here for you in a minute. But there's a lot of guys who ask me about long-range hunting. I was working with a dude not too long ago, maybe a month ago, and he was asking about what can I get that you don't have to be like a smart guy or a scientist or have to worry about all this ballistics tables, calculations, and running a scientific calculator. Because, I mean, some of us are into that stuff, and you can definitely get very precise when you're figuring out your ballistics on your apps and whatnot. Like we show how to do on our channel, that's kind of our forte here. But also, there's a lot of guys out there who just want to kill something quick and not have to worry about all the science. And really, if you're talking about the field expediency of some of these firing systems, the more precise you get, the more you got to really slow down. And in a real world hunting scenario, you might not have that opportunity. So having everything squared away ahead of time and all inside your optic ready to go is like really advantageous. And so I want to introduce to you guys something that's pretty cool, and this is my favorite from these guys who make it. This is the Orion scope. Okay, this is also another one of them scopes by Primary Arms. They're kind of getting more well known lately. There's a lot of scopes in this general quality range, if you will. These are made in the same plants that a lot of other very popular over-the-counter sporting type optics are made. One of the brands is very, very popular. It starts with a V and ends with an X. And they produce pretty much the same exact quality optics because they're using the same general parts of the same factories and stuff like that. Nobody told me this, but I was able to find out through other means. That's the reality of scopes. Most of these scopes are made overseas and branded and configured by American companies to do different things. But the reason this one's different than some of the other over-the-counter sporting scopes in the price range under $300 is the engineers who build these things actually take a lot of time to make sure, number one, they're pretty rugged. Actually, they use the right glues inside these, and number two, the reticle design is actually really smart. And generally speaking, for the kind of long-range shooting that I teach in my classes or that we do on the channel in terms of the scientific reviews on all the high-end stuff, is really talking about applications that require a really high-grade optic, because if you're going to dial in a firing solution on the turrets, all of a sudden you're in a whole nother category, and this over-the-counter stuff is not going to work. However, if you do have something with the reticle that's designed smart, you can get that all done in a very, very affordable optic. But the trick is finding reticles that are done smart, and you don't see that very often, honestly, in the industry. If you really get scientific in testing the reticles, a lot of times they'll have similar looking designs, and a lot of guys will say, oh, this reticle in this scope looks just like the other model I've seen. Well, it might generally be styled or seem to be styled that way, but we're not talking about style of reticles or how they look. We're talking about the mathematics behind exactly where the holding points are and if they're calibrated properly, and exactly how it's designed and what features the reticle has. So that's what I want to communicate in this review. This is called the Orion from Primary Arms. This is a 4-14 power scope in the first focal plane, which means that no matter what power setting you're at on your magnification, you don't have to worry about it. And I would strongly recommend that for hunting guys, because you're not going to remember to turn your power ring, probably. You're going to be too excited. So whatever power setting you are on is kind of what you're going to have. So it's very, very important to have a first focal plane reticle for really stressful or exciting situations, in my opinion. There's other applications of fire that warrant second focal plane reticle, but in this kind of hasty shooting type scenarios, first focal plane is awesome. Now the Orion is it's one of the ACSS patented reticles. I think what that originally meant is the Advanced Combat Sighting System, which is actually a very smartly designed reticle. If you look here, see if I can get this to focus for you guys. Okay, there we go. So if you look here, you're going to see what we got going on for a reticle. You have a pretty large, and I'm not going to call this a horseshoe, but a lot of guys would call this a horseshoe design. And it's relatively thick. That's because when you're on your lower powers, you're actually going to be able to see this still. When you crank it down to 4 power, this reticle is going to get smaller. It's going to appear smaller in your field of view because it's remaining proportional with the target, and you want to be able to shoot quickly. So if you're shooting fast-moving hogs or varmints like coyotes, and you're at close ranges, you're going to still be able to see your reticle very quickly. But if you crank it up to 14 power, we can zoom in on the reticle and actually see what's going on. All of a sudden, you're going to have very, very enhanced ranging capabilities. And off to the side of the reticle, you're going to notice some vertical lines with numbers underneath them. This is calibrated for an 18-inch target, if I remember correctly. And what you simply do is you bracket your target in the line. Like here, you can see the line is taking up this pig or whatever, right? And that'll have a number underneath that will tell you how many hundreds of yards away it is. And you simply index to the proper aiming point. On here, you have the numbers here as well. And so the 300-yard mark would be the top right here, is where you'd hold. And this is calibrated with a ballistic drop compensating reticle that's actually done in a neat way, and I'll show you how that works in a minute, because BDC reticles have advantages and disadvantages. Likewise, you have a deer. You can bracket the chest of the deer, see how far it is, and hold appropriately. Also, an 18-inch target, you have a coyote, you know, from the feet to the back. They're usually approximately 18 inches tall. One of the cool things about this particular reticle is you got holdovers that are actually pretty smartly designed, which I'll explain in a minute, out to 600 yards, which is really about as far as you can be effective with the reticle of this design. For hunting applications where the degree of responsibility is a lot higher to actually kill that animal. Once you get beyond 600, you're going to have to custom adjust for atmospherics a lot more, and so that requires a little more science, and you can do that. 2 scopes like this if you just simply, some of the other models have target turrets. This one doesn't, but because this is configured for hunting rifles. But at any rate, 600 yards is about as far as you're going to be effective with a BDC anyways, with any certainty of hitting the target. So you have your holdovers in hundreds of yards marked. And then the cool thing that makes these different than the other outfits that I actually thought was really, really handy is the wind dots. So you have the width of the little lines here. That's for a 2.5 mile an hour wind hold off if you got a full value. The next one would be, that first dot is a 5 mile an hour wind hold off value, and then a 10 mile an hour wind hold off value. So in one scope, you basically have your ranging capability, so you don't need a rangefinder. You can range your target in the optic, which is very handy, because as hunters know, it's nice to keep it high speed, low drag, lightweight type setup, travel light. So you can bracket your target and get a very, very precise range estimation in the scope. And that's actually calibrated properly. I did talk to the reticle engineer, and they spend a lot of time making sure they got their focal length right, all the numbers are multiplying by correctly. That is something that most companies out of Asia do not vet properly. And I know that this reticle engineer actually does spend a lot of time in the field, and they beat the crap out of these things in terms of really, really closely analyzing the preciseness of how the reticles are cut. And they usually end up having quite a struggle before they get it exactly perfect from the factory. And then once they lock that in, then you have a very, very good quality reticle in a scope that's actually affordable. But the wind hold-offs is the other thing too, is it's not all about your ballistic drop. It's nice to have an actual aiming point that's calibrated for standard wind values, because that's what's going to make you miss, is the wind. That's the hard part. And having the wind hold-off dots is like really handy. And I've run the other ACSS reticles quite a bit on some of these budget optics. I'm going to release another review soon on one that's really, really handy. And we're looking at the Savage back here. That's got another one of the 4-14s on it with a different reticle. That thing's actually working out really cool. We got to test it at location Zulu quite a bit, and it's very, very effective. It was like dead on in terms of your ballistic drop compensation out to like 600, like exactly on within an inch and a half or something like that vertically. And that's just screwing around. And beyond that, it's very, very precise. If you calibrate it properly, it'll work very well for you. But this particular scope, guys, is like $259 or something. And I actually did secure something for you guys because they're in stock now. I actually know the Reticle engineer down there, and he was able to get you guys free shipping and mounts, or and rings, I believe, 30mm rings, because it takes 30mm rings for you guys if you use the link on the bottom of the video. So I just thought that was cool that he would do that for you guys. But they're in stock right now. That's why I wanted to wait on this video. But if you look at some of the videos that I've taken through this actual optic, it's very, very handy for field use, and it's something that if you're a hunter and you don't want to screw around with all the science part of it, and you just want to concentrate on your fundamentals so you can make a nice steady shot, then you can concentrate on the overall scene of the battlefield, the hunting field or whatever. You're not going to get distracted by all the peripheral distractions that is involved in making a firing solution. If it's all done, the firing solutions are all done in the scope for you, and they're fixed, they're laser etched. So really your turrets are not even part of the equation anymore. You don't have to worry about having to have a $1,000 or $2,000 scope to where the turrets are effective, because they're not even going to be using the turrets. This Orion is one of my favorite models that they make, actually, because it has just standard turret design, like a hunting scope. So you don't have big target turrets that obstruct or get knocked off whack or whatever. I actually like the turret caps on a hunting profile rifle. So you can mount this up on your classic bolt action, and it's not going to do you a lot of, it's not going to increase your footprint to the point to where it's ridiculous, and you're not going to knock these off. It also does have a side parallax adjustment from 10 to infinity, and so that's nice. And in the first focal plane, guys, that's really, really hard to beat that type situation. And a 30mm main tube actually gives you pretty good eye box in terms of when you get behind it. If you're used to 1-inch scopes, this is going to be pretty nice. So overall quality, you guys know that I'm into Schmidt & Benders and IOR Val data and stuff like that. So I have pretty darn skewed standards, or I'm kind of grading on a radical curve on that stuff. But to basically be honest, this is going to give you pretty good quality in that $200 to $300 range. Most other scopes that I've seen over the counter, this is going to be the same deal as most of your over counter scopes that are of Asian manufacture. Some of them begin with a V and end with an X. Very, very popular brand name. This is basically made in the same place. It's basically going to be made from the same parts, and most scopes that are imported from overseas and rebranded by sporting companies are going to be that way. So it's going to be generally the same quality as that. These guys do use a different kind of glue, which actually is incredibly tough. Oh, I got this right here. I was actually taking their 1-to-6 on this FAL. Maybe you guys saw the video, but we put the silencer on this bad boy. Yeah, I said silencer, not suppressor. Ask me about that sometime, or Mr. James if you want to. But in the video, we're hammering away. We got like a big full 50 caliber ammo can full of 308 ammo, and we just hammered away with this thing, trying to get this thing to break, because FALs destroy 1-to-6 scopes, and this is the 1-to-6 ACSS Reticle. And normally I'm not a budget optics guy on my serious duty rifles. I've got budget optics though. I mean, I got a Casnar on my 6mm back there that was probably $20. I've got a Weaver K4 on my 375 back there, so I'm not scared of budget optics, but I just want them to actually work. And I'm very fussy when it comes to budget optics as well. I want it to have something that makes it worthwhile. Otherwise, I'll spend a lot more money and get something good quality. Optics are very important not to skimp on. But all that stuff being said, in all honesty, I think that these are very comparable with other optics in that price range. Actually, I've seen scopes that are of the same quality that are probably 50 to 100% markup over the cost of these. Like normally you pay $400 or $500 for something this quality. Primary Arms is a nice company. One of the reasons I do have a little bit of a soft spot for them is they seem to not want to charge more than they need to. They try to keep the price competitive, and that's how I think they make more of their money, is just selling more product. So that's one cool thing about it too. So like, I know you guys are familiar with the SWFA Super Sniper that I've reviewed in the past, and for precision shooting applications where you're using the turrets, I love these things. And I don't even really honestly like SWFA that much, but the scope is very sound. But what I'm trying to communicate here is that this is in that same general level of enthusiasm for ruggedness and usability, in my opinion. A different application. This one is a lot more quick to use in the field. And if you're hunting and you don't want to screw around with trying to kill something at like 0 to 600, maybe a tiny bit farther, this is probably what I would go for. And you could buy stuff for $1,000, but honestly, this is going to get you on target faster. So I wanted to share that with you guys. I do have the link at the bottom of the video. If you want to click on that deal, you'll get a free set of rings and free shipping on the entire order. So if you want to buy other stuff, they sell all kinds of stuff there too. But I wanted to do that while they actually had them in stock. So they just got a shipment in. The guy called me and said, hey, we got some in. I said, give me a link that they can click on for this exact model here that I'm talking about, because they make a lot of different models. But check it out, guys, and I thought I'd share that with you before I forgot to do it and before I get busy again. So thanks for hanging out in the Rex barn here, and we'll catch you on the next one, guys.
Long way home.
I lost you.
There you are.
Where are you? I can't see you.
Can't see me? Oh, it's low battery. That's the problem right there.
Man, would I give to be 20 again? How's this stupid thing look?
You holding your phone sideways or what?
Yeah, phone side. There. Okay. Oh my god. Dude, my legs are on fire.
So we got the engineer from the scope on the phone. He just got back from his bicycle ride. I told him, hey, I'm calling you on FaceTime and we're going to do this scope review. And I just thought it'd be fun to talk to here. This is Dimitri. Say howdy, Dimitri.
Unbelievable. Hi, everybody.
He's
really was on a bike ride.
Yeah, he's a good guy. He's a good guy. But the neat thing about reticles like this, if they're calibrated properly, they can be effective with a variety of different kinds of ammunition and different loads. And what he'll give you is a set of instructions like you see here. This specific Orion scope is set up specifically for the 30-06 Springfield or 308 Winchester. And they'll give you the exact zeroing data for different elevations and different loads with different bullet weights. So it's actually kind of a flexible design. It'll tell you where to zero at 100, and it'll basically get you pretty darn close. And even for 223 Remington, you can run VMAXs if you're doing varmint hunting, and he gives you the exact point of aim to zero at 100 yards, and he'll get you pretty much squared away.
Yeah, we based it on the SST ammo by Hornady.
Okay.
Because that's like the, I called a bunch of hunters basically throughout the country and, you know, asked them what round do you like. And we did a lot of research on the actual sizing of the animals for the range estimation. We ended up with whitetail at 18 inches and mule deer at 22. Seemed to be the average.
Yep.
But if you're off a little bit, if they're 17 or 16 or even 50, it's not going to throw it off by a lot. And you could tell you're at 3 or 4 instead of 5, you know. I mean, it's pretty obvious where you're at. So, and also we have mills in there. So if you do want to range estimate using the mill system, everything is in there.
Yep, yep. And one of the neat things about employing a BDC Reticle Zero properly is it's pretty easy to do it if you simply pick like a median range. For example, this reticle goes to 600 yards. If you pick like a 400 or 500 yards and you zero your elevation adjustment for that, like you simply get it to hit right on the 400 or 500 yard mark, it'll actually kind of average out your ballistic drop for the rest of the trajectory, and you won't be radically far off at the max range or at the minimum range as well. And you've done a lot of testing on these, and I've gotten a chance to shoot them, and they're pretty darn close to exactly how they're advertised.
Yeah, what we found out is the human error that's the biggest factor in errors, especially for hunting, because you're in these alternate firing positions. You're not like with sandbags on a rest kind of thing. Mm-hmm. You know, you're like using a tree or you're, you know, sitting on your butt. So
Yeah, so it's cool because it's a relatively flexible system. It's geared smart. You spend a lot of time making sure you get the actual reticles measured properly, so when they come back from the factory, they're all right on. I know there's a lot of outfits that attempt to do that, and they don't exactly get it right, but you spend a lot of time every day out in the bush calibrating this stuff, don't you?
I am obsessed, as you know.
Yeah, every time I call him, he's like driving out into the desert to shoot more stuff. Always calibrating these things. So when you do get these, just know they are semi-flexible. I like to employ a median range 0 on these things. That'll get you very close, and this is basically calibrated for cartridges with the approximate ballistic profile is these commonly employed rounds that we see here. So if you're shooting one of these calibers or something similar to this, you're going to be able to make it work pretty darn well. Just follow the instructions, and if you want precise holdovers for whatever load you're using, that's something you can work with people too on, isn't that right?
I believe the reticle is in iStirlock, so you can actually find the reticle and calibrate your load to it.
Yep.
I'm pretty sure the Orion's in there. Also, the mills are in it too, so if you want to run data on an exact load, you have.
Yep, you still have the mills at your disposal. They're hidden in between the little marks here.
Right.
These little sub marks in between your range denominations are your mills. So you have 1, 2, 3, 4, and so that's a pretty handy deal actually too. Pretty smart design, very flexible in how it's employed, and it's pretty handy, man.
Yeah, even the ranging brackets that you see off to the right.
Yep.
They're actually 1/2 mil apart, I believe.
Okay.
So you can range horizontally if you needed to.
Sure. Yep. So 1/2 mil apart on the ranging bracket.
On the reticle itself, it's actually designed to be very fast at 4 power. Like if you go to 4,
Yep.
the large horseshoe just gives you a bold aiming point. Because very often you end up in a really thick bush and you're not going to shoot further out. So the reticle needs to be able to be fast and accurate further out.
Rock and roll. Well, thanks for the help, man. We'll catch you around on the next one.
All right, Rex. Have a good night.
But she hits me, just assembles my leg. So I went to the doctor and he gave me a bag. Now she waits, some of us are dreaming, that hope that